Joey Carbstrong and Tristan Tate recently had a debate of sorts on veganism, which was very interesting to me because I'm not familiar or was not familiar with either of these guys before watching. Joey has been vegan for 10 years, I think he says, and has a really different backstory from many of us. He used to be a criminal. He has actually been to prison.
I definitely didn't want to go back, that's for sure. So I got sober. Part of my sobriety was like thinking I don't want to be violent anymore. Where am I violent in my life? And I had this seed planted about karma and hypocrisy. Like I just seen people that were like, save the whales, save the dolphins. They were against palm oil because it kills chimpanzees, but they were eating like a cow. And I was like, you're a hypocrite. At least I can admit it. I'm eating steak right now and I can see the hypocrisy. I aligned my actions with my morals and went vegan, and I've been an outspoken activist ever since.
As Tristan admits, it's really inspiring.
Your story's actually pretty cool.
Tristan is, I think, a less inspiring figure, just the little bit I have learned about him since watching this video. He is Andrew Tate's brother, a possibly even more controversial figure than Tristan, but I don't want to, poison the well by getting into all of that stuff. I just want to focus on the video, on the debate. I have a lot of thoughts. Again, I think Joey's backstory is really inspiring. I think he carries himself really well. There are not a lot of people who I think would be able to be so calm during a discussion like this, where you have someone, Tristan, literally saying over and over again he doesn't care that animals are suffering in factory farms.
I truly don't care. As of right now, I don't care 1% about any of the issues vegans bring up, but I think cruelty is completely justified, completely, when it comes to getting fed.
But I do think he was really unprepared for a discussion like this, where you have someone, Tristan, say they don't care about animals suffering because of God. They use their Christianity to justify it. Unlike many people who argue against veganism, Tristan does not pull the health card, right? He doesn't say it's unhealthy to be vegan.
I understand that in today's society with supermarkets and all the miracles that you guys talk about, that you can exist on a vegan diet. Yeah. But so that means I could, right? Because I live in the 21st century. I live here in a first world country with supermarkets and food that you can buy everywhere. So yeah, I'm not one of the Maasai people of Africa. I'm not a hunter-gatherer. I understand that I have a choice of what I can eat.
He doesn't argue that animals are not sentient. He agrees that they are, and that they do feel pain and they suffer.
One of my friends is in this house right now. He used to work at a slaughterhouse. My eyes are open. I know exactly where my food comes from, and I do not value the lives of cattle and animals produced for food. I just don't.
He just doesn't care. He doesn't care about veganism even to argue against it. Be vegan if you want, but you are never going to convince him because he is Christian.
I myself am an Orthodox Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the word of the Bible. The Bible makes it very, very clear that man has dominion over animals. It tells us which animals we can and which animals we can't eat. And I don't understand how any man could argue with a Christian about that. If I say God's word is final, where would you come in and oppose me?
This is very early in the conversation, around the 10-minute mark, and unfortunately they move past it, basically. It's a shame because dissecting this is really central to the entire conversation, and it shows just how cowardly and selfish Tristan's behavior is.
The Bible makes it very, very clear that man has dominion over animals.
Dominion over animals means we can treat them however we wish. Where in the Bible does it say that? In fact, many argue that dominion means something akin to stewardship, responsibility for creatures, not just power and control over them. And there's nothing in the Bible saying you cannot be vegetarian or even vegan, but don't just take my word for it. I'm just some atheist. Here's a bunch of Orthodox Christians from a post on the Orthodox Christianity subreddit saying the same thing. Many Orthodox monks and nuns are essentially vegan 90% of the time, with cheese and fish being offered at some meals. Most, if not all, monks are vegetarian. My bishop is. My priest is a vegan. Some even say that while orthodoxy does not require vegetarianism, vegetarianism is consistent with the ideology. It's also clearly bad to destroy the good of another who has a good of their own in rivalry with our desire. To me, that makes vegetarianism self-evident. Some of them are actually vegetarian or vegan because of their faith. It seemed like a very natural conclusion I came to specifically as part of the Orthodox Christian tradition. The deep Christian theology in Orthodoxy and its emphasis on the interrelatedness to all created beings made it impossible for me to keep living off the obvious suffering of animals when I could just as easily choose a plant-based diet that satisfied all my nutritional needs. The merciful heart is the heart that burns with compassion for all creation. The original creation was vegetarian and/or vegan, and so will the future one. Both men and animals were only allowed to eat meat after the fall fall and flood according to the biblical narrative. There is not a Christian in this world who doesn't take what they want from the Bible and ignore what they don't want. And that's good. There's some real unsavory shit in there. So I'm really glad there are so many Christians who are not homophobic, who are not pro-slavery. But what that means for people like Tristan is that they are choosing to view dominion over animals in this way. They are choosing to treat animals however they please. When over and over and over again, people of your faith see vegetarianism in the Bible and make convincing arguments for it instead of just, God made animals for us, it's not God's word you're talking about.
If I say God's word is final, where would you come in and oppose me?
He's hiding behind God. It's very cowardly. Treating animals however we wish, that is all Tristan. Well, kind of. He's really not consistent with that at all, which is good, because if he were, I mean, that's psychopathic behavior, as Joey points out.
To say you don't care at all about these animals suffering to death, like in this gas chamber, seems a bit like you're lacking empathy that most of the population would have.
He says factory farming is good. It's cruel, but it's good because it provides a lot of food.
Do you think factory farming is bad?
No. I think it's a miracle that we can have 7 billion, 8 billion people on a planet and we can all feed them.
Then he also says that torturing animals, while not good, is fine if you just want to torture a dog, because you can.
If I was being cruel to a dog in front of you, like say I had a hot iron and I was putting it in their eye and they were squealing and that, you would just feel nothing?
No. If you're working at a dog factory, killing the dog so you can eat it, I would not care, because it's your dog, your farm, your business, your factory, your life. I'm a free market capitalist, and if you're a producer of dog meat, all well and good.
But then he also says in this very conversation that killing animals more humanely is good, and that if we can do that, we should do that.
Obviously, it'd be nice if you could click your fingers and they just completely drop out of consciousness. There was a way of killing things that was 100% harmless or pleasurable. That would be preferable, I guess. I said if I could kill animals without torturing them and without being cruel, and it would be ideal if they could all live wonderful lives.
If we are going to kill animals, it should be for a reason. There should be some goods produced as a result.
Basically, as long as we get pleasure from the action,
as long as we get
satisfaction,
some goods from the action. Gelatin, bone marrow, skin, leather. I'm down with it.
He also admits that yes, he could be vegan. He could eat a plant-based diet. He just doesn't want to.
How is eating KFC for pleasure different to what I'm doing for pleasure? Say I got pleasure out of torturing these animals. It gave me sensory pleasure. I really liked them squealing or whatever. You really like the taste of KFC, and these animals are suffering in horrible factory farms in order to bring you that KFC. How is what you're doing any different to what I'm doing?
This is a great point, and it's one I wish Joey had really pressed him on. Like, seriously, do not move on in the conversation until Tristan admits that this is totally inconsistent with his claimed view that animal suffering doesn't matter. Only human suffering matters. If animal suffering really doesn't matter, if morality has nothing to do with animals, then why should we try to kill them humanely? Why should we care at all?
It's a chicken, bro. Like, seriously, I just don't care.
But you don't. No, you do. You actually. You can't say that now, because you did care a little bit enough.
I don't care
enough to stop me torturing them. You cared enough to stop me torturing them before when I created the chicken torture like scenario. Well, you did care a little bit.
He clearly does. Tristan wants to hurt animals as little as possible and still get his food, which means he does care about reducing suffering. That inevitably leads to veganism. If Tristan were consistent with his interpretation of his faith, he would be vegan, like so many other Christians. I'm vegan myself. One of the things before coming back to orthodoxy was to make sure there's no dogma on the mortality of the animal soul like there is for Catholicism. Veganism is for the sake of the animals, for their lives, and due to their suffering. I do not make them equal to people like so many think vegans do. Again, that was a comment from the subreddit, and I bring it up because Tristan tries several times to get Joey to say that he values pigs and humans equally.
I certainly don't put animal lives and human lives on the exact same plane of importance at all. Like a lot of do you think that pigs and cows are as important as people? Do you feel their lives are worth as much as a person's life?
Well,
Joey waffles on the answer, saying that, there's some people who are pieces of shit and they're, beneath animals. Tristan agrees with that. But Tristan is right. Joey does not believe that. There's no vegan who truly believes that. They may say they do, but their actions say otherwise. We all behave as though humans are more morally important than animals, which is fine because veganism is not about that. It's not about viewing every sentient being as equally morally relevant. It's about reducing suffering, something that Christianity espouses.
I'm trying to
Anyone
figure out
else
why
isn't?
you think it's okay in this case and not okay.
Most people disagree with you because they are.
But most people don't think killing dogs is okay. But you think killing dogs is absolutely fine.
I think if someone wants to kill their dog, it's fine by me. I'm not going to tell them not to.
Most people are not fine with seeing someone else torturing a dog. Most people are not fine with factory farming. There's a reason they turn away or completely ignore footage of it. Most people have no idea how farm animals are treated. Factory farms don't welcome visitors. The one that did, Fair Oaks Farm, turned out to be hiding a few things. Sentience Institute surveys find that most Americans agree that the animal foods I purchase usually come from animals that are treated humanely. What Tristan is saying, again, Tristan's words, not God's words, is psychopathic.
I think if someone wants to kill their dog, it's fine by me. I'm not going to tell them not to.
Do I think Tristan is a psychopath? No.
When I was in gangs, for example, we had to not care about the enemy. And if you did start to care about the enemy, you couldn't really do what you had to do. You had to put this shield up, and this shield helped you get through what you had to get through. If you started caring, basically, you couldn't be a very good person in the gang world. You couldn't be a very good soldier. You have to actually have this feeling of not caring for these animals.
Of course, Tristan ignored this or just didn't understand what Joey was saying, but it is another really excellent point. When we have to do heinous things or feel like we have to do heinous things or not doing the heinous things requires a lot of inconvenience on our part, we can quite easily convince ourselves that we don't care. Unless you truly lack empathy, which is rare, you have to do that in order to do the heinous thing, in order to live with yourself. I pretty much 100% believe that's what's going on with Tristan and a lot of people who claim they really don't care. He's lying to himself that he doesn't care so that he can continue to eat meat and maintain this manly sort of facade. Although he does give props to Joey for speaking up for his beliefs and he doesn't agree with the whole men eat meat sort of thing. But come on, the guy's smoking the cigar and then smoking cigarettes the whole time. He thinks beans are a little gay. Joey also briefly says there's a difference between even seeing factory farm footage and really seeing it. I believe Joey has actually done undercover work and been at these farms. So while Tristan says, oh, he's seen all the footage, you can't convince him. He's not like people who are hiding from it. He knows exactly what's going on. That's not really the same thing. And also, it doesn't sound like he really knows what's going on because there's a part in the conversation where he talks about pigs and he talks about the slaughter and he says, the last 30 seconds.
The unfortunate last 30 seconds of a pig's life where it suffers in a gas chamber is completely fine with me.
Okay, sure. Yeah, the last 30 seconds. He never talks about the suffering involved before that, their entire lives in factory farming. So I wouldn't be surprised if he really does not understand what is going on in these facilities. And even if he did understand on a rational level, Joey is absolutely right. I'm sure there is a huge difference between understanding and actually witnessing.
Animals have value. I didn't say animals have no value.
Again, as he admits, he prefers less suffering. He would like animals to experience less pain. I also loved the very beginning of this where Tristan's like, I don't know why we're talking about this because I don't care about veganism. I really don't care if you're a vegan or whatever. And Joey's like, yeah, but you've talked about vegan before and you've said that vegans actually kill more animals. So it seems like you kind of care. You kind of care about it. And he does say some typical anti-vegan things that suggest that maybe he does a little bit. He brings up sharks and maybe lions a couple of times.
I love meat. I absolutely love meat. And I don't feel any duty towards the animals that are killed for my meat, just like any other predator in the world doesn't. I don't believe when a shark eats a seal or eats a human that a shark has done anything morally wrong. I don't believe the shark needs to be reprimanded. I don't believe the shark is evil.
And Joey says at one point, yeah, I wouldn't say lions and sharks are ethical, though.
I don't think what sharks do is ethical. I wouldn't mimic my behavior and go, hey, sharks, they eat other sharks and lions eat other lions' cubs and horrible things happen in nature. I would never point to nature and say that's an ethical way of us living in civilization. Obviously, that would justify us killing each other and eating each other, cannibalism.
Hopefully, we aren't modeling our behavior after lions and sharks. I mean, it's particularly weird coming from someone who keeps harping on this made in God's image and humans, only humans, and yet then he's going to seemingly compare himself to non-human animals. Okay. He's an alpha male, though, right? I mean, they like the big lions and sharks and bears and shit.
I like predators. I respect bears and lions, sharks, I respect elephants. I respect them because they're mightier than the human.
Joey, who is also not Christian, he says he leans more like agnostic, but you can see he's trying to bring reason to the discussion. What's so different about humans and animals? Is it something in our DNA?
Are you saying that the trait that separates humans from and animals, it's like a morally relevant trait that we possess that the animals do not possess?
Yeah, it's that they're not humans. I care about the preservation of my own species because I'm not a psychopath. Okay. Whereas a pig is not a human, and I'm not interested in the preservation of pigs.
What do you mean by species? Like human? What do you mean by human? We are human. Is it something about our DNA or something like that?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to Tristan, right? We are made in God's image. That's it.
I would say a human is made in the image of God. That's what I would say. And a pig is not made in the image of God.
The Bible, that's it. Like, you have to go to the Bible and show his interpretation is his interpretation, and he is choosing to be cruel.
If there were human beings that weren't made in the image of God and we sort of created them, if I made a human farm, basically they're my human beings, is it okay for me to cut them up?
I see what Joey's trying to do, but they're still human.
I don't believe if you started a farm raising humans for organ transplants, which is an area of science that is being explored right now. Do I think that's right? No. I don't believe in abortion. I don't believe in harvesting the body parts of babies who are 8 months or 7 months old when they're aborted to take their tissue and their skin and their bone to run human experiments on. No, I think that's all morally evil because humans are humans, or animals are animals, and I'll always have a distinction between them. Cows and chickens are beneath me, and they're beneath humans, and I don't care. I don't care about cows and chickens in the same way that I care about humans, and I never will.
This just cracks me up. Like, that's such a childish thing to say. And to him, man, that's manly, right? That's just the pinnacle of man. You have a position and you stick to it. And I'm sure all of his followers, yeah, wow, what a man, what a big, strong man. I don't know. I think listening to others and learning and changing your viewpoint when it makes sense to, I think that's pretty manly. Good. Let's just say good. I think that's a good thing to do. I think just being stuck in your ways, not so much. There are very few things, and I hold some very strong opinions, including regarding veganism. There are very few positions I hold that I would say you could never change my mind, period, ever. Oh God, the weird trophy hunting thing at the end. He really thinks this is like cool or funny. I don't know. You can tell Joey's just like, okay, dude. Yeah. He thinks trophy hunting is unfair because you're fighting these big creatures with guns and whatnot. Like, you shouldn't use it as like a, look how manly I am, I killed a lion. Which, yes, I agree with. It is really fucking lame and gross, and why? Instead of, hey, maybe let's not kill creatures, maybe let's not view that as cool at all. He thinks that the rules should be changed so that, like, you go to fight a lion with like some knives.
If you want to go fight a lion, I think you should have, I don't know, a sword and a shield, or a suit of armor and 2 knives. Because then at least if you do it, I can respect you.
It's only about respect. Manly respect. To wrap this up, I know it's uncomfortable to talk about religion and to talk about God, but when people are using it to defend cruelty, when they're saying, I do this or I don't do this because God said so, you have to go down that path. At the end of the day, Tristan eats animals for the exact same reason that atheist Matt Dillahunty eats animals, because they want to. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Subscribe. Hit the bell if you want to be notified when I upload a new video. Thank you so much to my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. I do post 2 exclusive videos there a month for $5 plus patrons. The second of which is a controversial topic unrelated to veganism. I just posted one for July just a few days ago. I also have some merch, and I have an Amazon store page with stuff that I recommend. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Thanks again, guys. New video soon. Been playing Tears of the Kingdom now for, oh man, a month? No, like 2 months? I don't even know. I've got all the light roots. I've got like 115 or something shrines, somewhere around there. Maybe more than that now, actually. So I'm going around and marking the spots because the light roots and the shrines on the ground line up. And I got all the light roots so I can go and see, oh, there's a light root there. Okay, there's a shrine somewhere on the surface. So that's been actually pretty helpful. Still some I've had to look up because I couldn't find the cave or whatever. So yeah, I've done more in this game, I think, than I ever did in Breath of the Wild, but I can feel myself like winding down on it. So I'm probably going to be done soon. I mean, there's no way I'm going to get every Korok seed. Who does that? There's like 900 or something. Who gets all of those? I mean, I have to do the ones where you're helping them find their friends. I can't just leave them. I can't just leave them struggling on their little backpack. I know I said I wasn't going to poison the well or anything, but this isn't from Tristan. This is from his brother, although Tristan did retweet it. I train, I work, I love my kids, support my brothers, drive. I train, I work, I drive cars, and I pray. Can we get a shirt that says drive cars and pray?